In today's video, we are going to latch on to what we learned in video 6.3, which was return and void functions. So we are going to be doing some examples today. So in this video, we are going to create a function that returns a value and one that is a void function, which does not return a value. So let's dive in and look at the difference. We are going to look at how to create two functions. The first one is going to be a function that reverses a string. Above, I have given examples of what this function is supposed to do. Suppose I have 1, 2, and 3. This should return 2, 3, 1. Or if I have A, B, C, D, it should return D, C, B, A. So let's get started. Note that I put the pass keyword within the function. This is to ensure that our code actually compiles and doesn't give an error. So if I run this, it says everything's okay. But if I remove it and left the function empty, then I get an indentation error. So that's all the pass keyword does. So how are we going to reverse a string? Let's start by creating the new string that we're going to return. Originally, it's going to be the empty string. Now, our approach to reversing a string is going to be to loop backwards through the string. So to do that, simply create an index that loops up to the length of our string s. And here's the slightly tricky part. Instead of grabbing the character at the index, we're going to grab it so that we're looping backwards through the string. So we're going to grab the character in our original string s at the index length of s minus the current index minus 1. The minus 1 is to account for the fact that the length of s is not 0 base, but 1 based. And that's all we need to do to reverse the string. So now let's test to see if this works. So if I say reverse of 1, 2, 3, reverse of A, B, C, D, and our other test case was 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. Let's print those to the console, and effectively we have reversed all of these. Perfect. Let's move on to our next function, which is palindrome. A palindrome is a number for which can be read the same backwards as forwards. For instance, 1 is trivially a palindrome. 1, 2, 1 is a palindrome because if we read it left to right, it says 1, 2, 1, and right to left it is also 1, 2, 1. If we look at the next example, A, B, B, A, and A, B, B, A are the same backwards as forwards, and so on for the other examples. So to check if a number is a palindrome or not, we're going to use the same kind of technique as we did for the reverse string. We're just going to grab the characters in reverse order, but instead we're going to compare them to the current character. So this is how you would do that. You would say for index in the range length of p, and if p at a current index is not equal to p at the length of p minus I minus 1, then we know that this is not a palindrome. But furthermore, we don't have to check the whole string. We just have to check half the string, because we know it's not a mirror after we have processed only half of the string. So if we get here, then we know that it's not a palindrome. But if we get outside of here, then we know that it is a palindrome. So let's just print that. So print, yes, this is a palindrome, and we copy that and put no. This is not a palindrome. Perfect. However, we do not want both of these statements to execute, because no matter what, after this loop is finished, line 18 will execute. So we have to somehow exit the function before then, but only if this if statement is true. We could get around that by having an external Boolean variable that keeps track of if the current number was a palindrome or not, but a much simpler way is just to say return. So I lied when I said that void functions can never have return statements. That's not necessarily true. They can't have return statements that actually return a value. But this return statement is not returning a value per se. It's a return statement that says, I want to exit the function. So we still can't assign a value to whatever this returns because it doesn't exist. This just says exit function. So let's run a few tests on isPalindrome to see if it works. So isPalindrome 1, 1, 2, that, maybe something of even length, and so on. It says float object cannot be an integer. The reason we are getting this error is because we are doing a float division right here, while we should be doing an integer division with a double slash. And if we run this, it says, yes, this is a palindrome, yes, this is a palindrome, yes, this is a palindrome. Let's try something that's not a palindrome, maybe like hello, and run that, and it says, no, this is not a palindrome. I would also like to point out that since our isPalindrome function is not returning anything, we get none printed out from the return value over here. That is another indication that you are using a void function and not a function that returns a value. So printing this is redundant. There we go. Here is another way we could have implemented our palindrome function. Pause the video and try to see why it is equivalent. In this video, we looked at how to create a function that returns a value and one that does not. Since functions are a very important concept in programming, we will look at even more examples in the next video. See you then.